Shalom, Yahweh Shem Shah Brakatah, Yahweh Shabbat Thamba Shem Shah. This is the Isupk, starting at 1 West, 125th Street, Harlem, New York, in 1969. We're under commanding General Yohanan. We're here to teach the truth of the Bible. So-called Black, Hispanics, and Native American Indians are the real Israelites in the Bible. In today's class, again, it's like you said, to make some room here. Today's class is the Lashawan Kodash class, the ancient Hebrew class. We have it every single Friday. Okay. And what we do in this class is that we go into the ancient language, the oldest known language on the earth that belongs to so-called Black, Hispanic, and Native American Indians. Now, at some point, we'll do a deep dive into the origins of the ancient Hebrew. But first and foremost, I'm going to go ahead and get out of the way so y'all can see what we got on the screen today. Because what we're going to be covering today is the actual pictorial meaning of each character in the ancient Hebrew. Ancient Hebrew is created to not only be an alphabet, but to be what's known as a glyph. Okay, you've heard the term hieroglyphs, right? People use the term hieroglyphs when they typically think of the Egyptian language, hieroglyphs. But glyphs are not just exclusive to the Egyptian language. In fact, glyphs are what ancient Hebrew is. Each character is a glyph in and of itself. So what we're covering today is we're going to go through the ancient Hebrew alphabet, which is considered one of the basics. We're going to the ancient Hebrew alphabet. We also have, for reference points, the modern Hebrew as it lines up with the ancient Hebrew, okay? So when we go into the pictorial meanings of each character, today what we're going to break down is we're going to break down the meaning of each character and why it looks the way that it does. This is a very important thing because if there ever came a time where technology comes to an end, where language barriers need to be crossed, you understand? Where, say, for instance, we find ourselves in a place where we're gathered with the other tribes, but we don't have a language that we can commonly use to communicate with one another. Because this tribe here speaks patois, and this tribe over here speaks French from their slavery, and this tribe speaks English, and this tribe predominantly speaks Spanish. What the ancient Paleo Hebrew actually does is it has become a fail-safe for our people to communicate with each other by a pictorial language, something that is easy to understand no matter what language you have been forced to learn under the captivity of your enemies. And so the pictorial language of Hebrew, we're going to cover it today. I'm going to jump straight into it so you can see an example of what this language is really trying to do. All right. A perfect example. We go through the ancient Paleo Hebrew. Whenever you say the alphabet, you would try to memorize this first. Abba, Gada, Ha, Wa, Za, Ka, Ta, Ya, Ka, La, Ma, Na, Sa, I, Pa, Taza, Kwa, Ra, Sha, and Tha. Okay? Now, each character means something visually as well as the way that it sounds. And the Hebrew word that goes for is cattle. Cattle. Why would you think that it looks like a cattle? Think about this. Isupk San Antonio, in conjunction with Isupk Houston and all the brothers in the Texas, you know what I'm saying? We went out to a farm, okay? And in this farm, we had cattle in this farm. And one of the most predominantly known cattle in these farms were chickens, cows, horses. When you look at the shapes of the faces of these animals, like the horse, like the cow, it uses this shape. They have a long face. Hell, even the chicken, they got a long beak. Predominantly, though, this is most likely going to mean cattle, as in cows. Okay, cows, animals with long faces. This is what it's representing. So is a pictorial image of a cow, of some form of cattle. You know what I'm saying? Cattle typically for the sake of work, cattle typically for the sake of resource like food and clothes and things like that. And so the actual pronunciation of cattle is a lot, a lot, a lot. And the way that that would look in the Hebrew in its full form is a, la, and pa, a lot. You understand? So a lot is going to be the word cattle, but at the very same time, ah by itself as a picture means cattle as well. So everybody get that? Back down the way so that y'all can see that. Okay, there you have it. A lot. Moving forward. Now we have the next one. All right, now we have the next one. Ba. Ba is again second word of the Hebrew alphabet. Ba means tent. Ba means tent. Understand? Because when you look at this, the shape of a teepee, when you look at the Native American culture, is a triangle. Now, not to get mixed up with da. We're going to get to that here in a minute. But ba is not just necessarily the tent itself, but everything around it. The camping ground. You understand? The camping ground around the tent. And so you have this character with this swivel that comes out right here, which represents the tent and the immediate area before it where you would dwell wherever you were located, whether you were in the wilderness, whether you were in you know what I'm saying, in a tent city, which would be considered a tribal gathering because Israel dwelt together in places like this when we left Egypt. When we come out of captivity, tents are one of the easiest ways to create a stationary home or maybe even a mobile home because tents are things that can be put together and taken apart fairly easily and used with along with cattle to transport your home wherever you're at. A tent is nothing but more than it could be some form of covering, whether it be made out of leather, whether it be made out of any other material or wool, and it would be placed over a series of sticks that are joined together in a way that stands up. And so cattle would be used because they would actually carry these things around. They would have the strength to carry it on their backs all day. And then you would have the tent that would be the immediate camping ground of where you're at. So ba means tent, and the pronunciation of it is bayah. Ba yeah. Now I'm trying to write as legible as I can. I want to make sure that y'all. I wanted to try to make sure I got all of the characters here on the board, and so I may need to expand that a little bit just to have room. Now, bayat again means tent, and the way that it's written in Hebrew is just like this. You have your ba, you have your ya, and your tha. Bayat. You understand? And so now you have your cattle, now you have your tent. And again, as we're building the Hebrew alphabet, we're also building an understanding of what these pictorial hieroglyphs are. Okay? Because again, they all mean something. They all mean something very specific. Um, let's continue. As we go forward through all of these characters, we're going to see just how vital a lot of these things are in the day-to-day life because your vocabulary needs to expand. And so some of the most basic things that you need to understand about Hebrew are in the alphabet itself. The alphabet isn't just the thing that you're taught when you were young, in the Hebrew mind, in the Hebrew culture. You're also taught things, objects, animals, things that would be food, things that would be useful, tools, things that are a part of you. You understand? And so this is why. Okay, let me actually give a little bit more room. I'm gonna try to rewrite some of this here. And you know what? We'll play it by ear and we'll make sure to write it as needed. But for now, I'm gonna get a little bit more light because I want to make sure that y'all can see this really good. All right. It's a lot for those of you that are tuning in and seeing it. I want to try to make sure to make this as clear as I possibly can. Now, the next glyph on the chart, God. Again, God right here looks like this in the ancient Hebrew, and it looks like this in the modern Hebrew. But God means a very specific type of cattle, the cattle that you don't eat. These three things right here, think about this for a second. These first three characters of the Hebrew alphabet are they're in that order for a reason. Why? Cattle is food. It's clothes. It's material that's used for other things that are going to be in this list. Tent, that's your home. That's your protection. That's your shelter in the rain, in the bad storm. The tent can be expounded on and turned into a full-on house given the right materials. God means camel. God means camel. You understand? And then the pronunciation is ga ma. Ga ma and la. Ma. You understand? Uh, I don't want that to be mistaken as any other character. Let me clear that up a little bit. Gamal. Now, again, what was I saying? The first three characters of the Hebrew alphabet, just from knowing Abba, and God, is enough for you to communicate some of the three most important things to people that you otherwise may not be able to understand because of the language barriers that Israel is going to have. This is a language that unifies our people. Food, shelter, transportation. Food, shelter, and transportation. Those are some of the most important things in our lives. And the Hebrew alphabet clearly outlines those first three vital things. Okay? It's the beauty of this language. Again, it's not just the alphabet, it is pictures. If you were to have to explain something to somebody, you would be able to take a piece of wood, a twig, you would be able to draw this icon in the dirt. And then they may be able to understand it much easier, allowing you to communicate with them effectively. Not just visually, well, not just audio wise, but visually as well. And so you're starting to see how it all comes together. These hieroglyphs are our language to help us at any given time throughout any of our history. Okay. We think of cattle as food even today. We think of a tent as a makeshift home even today. Camels, you understand? We may think of that as a very reliable mode of useful animal for transportation. Horses, another example, right? But camel specifically is what was more common in the region where we came from. We came from the Middle East, and camels were utilized, where they were a well utilized animal for the sake of transportation because they'd be able to, you know what I'm saying? They had the long endurance with storage of water in their humps. They had the capability of traversing deserts and hot lands. So the camel is very important to our culture and where we come from, being that we come from the land of Israel originally. Now, moving forward, the next character here, Da. Da is the ancient Hebrew character that represents a door. A door. And it makes sense too because a tent looks like this. So the door to the tent would look like a triangle. You understand? Because of the way that the house is structured, that the opening would look like that. Because there would be a slit in the middle as that wool is wrapped around. Because the wool would be wrapped around in such a way where it would begin as a flat surface like this. But if you have your tent like that, and then you wrap this wool around you, then the sides are going to open up on that tent to make a door for the teepee. And that's where you have that door that can flap open. You understand? So that's very commonly known. Now, a lot of people nowadays, our people never have time to actually go out camping. But if you were to go camping nowadays, even your typical camping tents, they've kept a very similar type of shape. Okay, maybe not so much a triangle, but for the sake of giving you more cubic space, they then extended that triangle out into another shape, and it too uses doors. Most of the time, square, but they can also be triangular, or they can have some kind of similar shape. So the door is an important part of the language as well. Okay, the door is an indication of where the opening is to the house, to the tent. Now the pronunciation of door is da la, da la, and tha, da la. So what we have so far, let's recap. We've gone through the first three characters of the ancient Hebrew language and have already covered three extremely vital pictorial images that can be duplicated wherever you're at. They can give a good, easy understanding for everybody to communicate with one another. You have the cattle, which is the character ah right here, which is shaped like the head of a cow, shaped like the head of a chicken, shaped like the head of a lamb. Foods that we eat. You understand? Animals that we breed for consumption. Cattle is pronounced a lot, but the character ah by itself does represent that. Then we have the tent. The tent is pronounced bayas, using the character ba to explain your camping ground, where you have the tent and the immediate area represented by the swirl right here. So you have your tent, and then you have your campfire area or your immediate zone that represents your plot of land wherever you locate this tent. The third character in the Hebrew language, camel, God, character God, Gamal. Now, how does this look like a camel? Why would it be like that? We can't we can't exactly assume because we needed to make it look different from the cow. So they made the camel look more like a stick figure. Typically, though, if you were to draw a stick figure of a camel, it would be more like that. So when you look at the Assyrian version of God, it's a little bit closer to that. It's right here. The ancient Hebrew, though, keeps it real simple. God. And that may be the case because this is a very easy character to duplicate if you had to carve into a rock. You have to understand that. The languages here that you see had to be carved into things. If stories were going to be written in that time, you had to make characters that didn't take way too much effort to make straight lines. You're not going to see a lot of curves in Hebrew. Here's a curve right here. We're not going to see a lot of curves in the ancient Hebrew. Most of it's going to be simplistic lines. So camel, gamal, is the third letter of the ancient Hebrew alphabet. The fourth one, again, is the door. The door is a triangle, which represents an opening, you understand, an entryway or an exit. Okay? If you had, like, say you had a hospital, in ancient Hebrew, a hospital, right? This would be the universal representation of exit slash entry. Like, you know how when you go to any building nowadays, there's a mandated exit sign that looks the exact same no matter where you're at in America. Exit signs that hang from the ceiling, they're always that rectangle, and then it has EXIT on it that says exit, and it tells you this is where you need to go to leave. This is a sign right here that tells you where the door is at. You understand? Or it'll just physically look like that 9 times out of 10 because that's the shape of what the TP was, and that was the opening for the TP. All right, moving forward. Next character. The next character we have here is Ha. Ha means to reveal. Ha means to reveal. Okay. And the pronunciation of the word reveal in the ancient Hebrew is the exact same. Ha. Ha. Coincidentally enough, it actually looks like this. Ha. This is where you start to get more into the vocabulary side of things. So we've showed you vital information, house, right? Food, transportation. And we have doorway entrance. Now we have revealing, which is what? That is an action. To reveal something means to uncover something. This is a request. This is a word that represents um, exposing something, taking something out of something, to reveal. So this is the visual representation of what reveal means. Okay. Now, next character. Next character is wa. Wa means hook or peg. Wa means hook. Now, this is a very good one because we know hook is usually something that has some kind of a curve to it. We think of a hook like as if, say, we're going fishing, right? If you're going fishing, you need something that's going to hook that fish that's going to trap them. Okay. Hook. Like I said, it can also be used as a peg. So this is a tool. We're talking about a tool here. So the sixth character in the Hebrew alphabet represents a tool of some sort, a hook, okay, or a peg. Now, why is that important? Because hooks and pegs are what's now known today as a fastener. A peg is the same thing as a nail. A hook is similar to a nut or bolt, right? Used to fasten things to a surface. Or for the sake of fishing, hooks are used to reel in fish. You understand? Because they would catch the bait that's on the hook. You would then yank on it to then pull that fish by that hook that would get caught up in their mouth. And so the hook is a tool that is used every single day by our people. What's that crack? Come on in. Go ahead and pull up a chair. What we're covering today are some of the basic glyphs of the ancient Hebrew. Because we see these characters all the time when we're studying, when we're writing, when we're doing the prayer. What? We'll worry about that later. But the actual Hebrew characters do represent things. And so it's important for us. It's important for us to understand what they are. Again, I want to re-emphasize this. Baba Shah, brothers, just maybe you're in the share class. Let's try to get this out there. I want people to see this one. This is considered a basic class. The only thing that I'm doing is I'm trying to get you to understand here just how important it is for us to have a pictorial language. Because if we come to a situation where we find ourselves amongst our people with language barriers keeping us from being able to talk to one another, we need to have a universal language pictorially. Ancient Hebrew is not just an alphabet, it is a series of hieroglyphs that give us an understanding of the world around us. We went through the first three characters of the ancient Hebrew alphabet, and the very first three things that we covered are the most important things that we need to survive. Cattle is food, represented by the cattle head, Allah, which means cattle. The tent, which is your home, your dwelling place. Ba, pronounced Bayaf in its full form. But again, Ba on its own represents your tent and immediate camping area. Okay? Camel is Gamal. Gamal is a camel. This is your transportation in the Middle East. In the Middle East, the camel was more common. But you can interchange this with the horse. If you lived in North America in the time of the Native Americans from 700 BC all the way up until modern day, the camel would be represented by the character Gah, which would mean transportation. So the first three characters of Hebrew is food, home, transportation. Do you understand that? Just those first three off the bat. All you need to know is those three, and then you can communicate with people that you normally would not be able to communicate with. Again, we've been taught English and Spanish, but what about people that speak Spanish that come to contact with the Judite that doesn't know Spanish? Say they meet each other after the world ends, right? After World War III, and they come across each other and they see, you know what, this is my people here. We shouldn't be fighting each other. We need to come together. We need to understand one another. This language will unify the 12 tribes of Israel because it was the original language that the Most High gave to the seed of Shem, who then became eventually the 12 tribes of Israel through Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. The fourth character in the Hebrew alphabet is Da, which means door. When you look at the tent, it has the TP and then it has the camping ground around the TP. But the door to the tent is exactly the same shape as the tent itself. This is a very common, easy, makeshift way to create a home. If you were out in the woods, the first thing you would want to do to try to make a protection zone for yourself is to have some kind of way to break down some wood, get some sticks together, join them together by stamping them into the ground, and then setting up some kind of covering, whether it be made out of wool, leather, you know what I'm saying, cotton, any kind of way to cover up those bundles of twigs that are joined together like this, to where you'd be able to wrap around that rectangular piece of wood around it, and then you would have your tent. This is just the simplest way to create a home. And when we talked about before you guys got here, is that even the modern day tent keeps the same overall shape. Only now it just makes sure to open up into a wider area to fit more people in. So even a modern camping tent takes that same understanding. It makes it more mobile, means you can take that wherever you need to go. To reveal, this is an action. It's symbolic to this word. Now we didn't live thousands of years ago, so the understanding behind why it looks like that, I can't quite decipher. But what I do understand is that definitely stands out from a lot of other characters in the ancient Hebrew. And so reveal is pronounced ha, 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 and then ends with the ha. It's not saying ha ha, it's ha. You understand? So ha, it would look like this. Now, how more can you say you got wind? If you have the sticks to build a camping site, the materials from the cattle and series of animals that you have to have resources to build a camping site, you need something that's going to pin those materials to each other, to fasten them to one another. Hooks could be made out of bones, they could be made out of metals, they could be made out of things around you. Hell, even some shapes of random twigs can serve as hooks. When you think of branches and how they branch out, they can look like this shape right here. And this very same shape was your ancient form of nails and nuts and bolts. Fasteners is what they call it. When you go to Home Depot, we call it hook. And it is pronounced in the ancient Hebrew, wa, or wa. Wa means hook. That is not joined together, that is separate. So it is wa. Coincidentally enough, the character wa also means join. Why is that? Because that's exactly what a hook does. That's exactly what the other definition was. A hook does, and what even for defense, you know what I'm saying? Or again, like in this case of building a tent, you would use the peg, which would be the sharp pointy part of it, to pin down the material from the tent into the ground so that it doesn't move. You understand? So again, this is your ancient form of your basic tools used, whether we be in the wilderness, if we have to find ourselves in a situation where we have to camp out, we'll be looking for the first thing we would do to build an entire society starts with some of the basics like food, shelter, and transportation. You understand? And so these things here are things that we are going to use to communicate and understand, you know what I'm saying, the privacy of the door, revealing of the things that you have, your resources that you can share amongst the people, the resources used for fastening things to different surfaces. Now, the next character in the Hebrew alphabet is Zah. Zah means weapon. And the word weapon in the ancient Hebrew is Zayan. 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 Now, a weapon is basically, in the ancient times, would be a stick with something sharp is added to it. When you think of a sword has sharp edges added to it. Zah represents something that is sharp. It even looks like a scythe. You ever seen a scythe?
Yeah.
Like a double-bladed scythe?
Mm.
I'm trying to think of an example, but a double-bladed scythe would basically be the handle, which is in the middle, and then the two blades that would be sticking out on either side.
Mm.
It's like the ancient form of what Darth Maul uses in Star Wars, basically, right? But you could think of other examples of that. Weapons are going to be represented by a sharp Zayan. In fact, we have a brother in the school that goes by the name Aban Zayan. You understand? And that's what his name means. And that's the brother you don't want to mess with. Because I bet you he's a weight class above you tenfold. You know what I'm saying? So Zion. All right. That was pretty straightforward. Let's see what this one means. Ha. What does Ha represent? Anybody want to take a guess?
Oh,
Yeah.
I'll take a guess.
Go ahead.
Probably like a ladder.
That's close.
That
That is close. Let me rewrite it a little cleaner.
like
Very I tell you what, what you're saying, you're in the right mindset. What do you use a ladder to overcome?
So overcome obstacles,
Right? Like what?
tribulations.
No, like literally a ladder, like a physical ladder.
To build to
Think of like, okay, think of a castle, right? The castle is protected by something that looks like this. It's just that there's many of these stacked next to each other. Go ahead.
a wall.
It's a wall. It's a picture of a wall. You understand? So that's what it means. Ka means wall. Ka means wall. Now, a ladder is what you use to get over a wall, right?
Yeah.
But the actual picture itself represents a wall, and that is pronounced ka'a. Ka'a.
Kind of understanding these. Like you have the Zah, which is a weapon. Do you know how you swing a sword? Go swing, swing.
Ka. Then you have then you have fa. Ka'a. Ka'a. Now we're starting to get into a different zone here. Where we started off at the basic need for survival, and we start to get into something else. Hooks, weapons, walls. When you start to build a society, you need to have resources like food, transportation. Transportation can be used predominantly to gain more ground, to get messages sent amongst different units that are further away from you. You understand? Now we're starting to look at defenses. Defenses are going to include walls. They're going to include pegs and hooks to join materials together. Then, of course, the wall itself, right? And weapons and things like that. So these are your basic pictorial. Again, the Hebrew language is a hieroglyph language, even more sophisticated the than the Egyptian language, ancient Hebrew. Yeah. Oh, smart. All of these are really interesting in their own way, because what I want people to do is I would like to see us start to implement our vocabulary. This class, I actually was going to name this class the Hebrew the Hebrew stimulus package, like a vocabulary, because this is the basic download of a lot of heavy information, a lot of basic things that we need to understand all in one go. And what better way to do that than to start with the alphabet itself, because it gives you the visual representation of what it means. Go ahead. What's your question?
I was going to ask you. So, like, Abagada, Hawasa, God, we are, when we started writing those things, like we were just basically drawing.
Yeah. So that's what languages were at first. The best way to communicate with somebody is a sign, right?
Yeah, symbolism.
Like when somebody goes like, I'm getting the screen here. When somebody goes like this,
yeah,
they're trying to represent. They're trying to say self. And when they point, it's like draw attention over here. So we again think about this too. If we were anywhere on Earth, the dirt under you can be a canvas. The rocks in the cave that you're in, or on the mountainside that you're next to, would be basically a canvas for you to take a sharp tool like another rock, or you know what I'm saying, to take basic angles that are not very complicated to draw and draw them on there. You know, if you had a rock and then you're on next to another rock and you rub those rocks together, it creates a mark of some sort.
Yeah.
So you take that, now you can draw, now you can communicate with people that you normally wouldn't be able to communicate with, because people understand visual aids too, you know? And so back then, these were used as very common visual aids that after Ham, Shem, and Japheth spread out, the seed of Shem, and then one of his sons by the name of Eber, I believe we read about that in Genesis chapter 10, or one of the first books of Genesis talks about how Hebrew started to be used. And so this language here is what was used back then. Thousands of years ago. We're talking about over 4,000 or 5,000 years ago.
Yeah.
You know? So, well, more than that now. About 6,000. Because we're talking about like 3,000 to 4,000 BC, right? And so these are the basic shapes that are easy to, like, if you're on a rock, you're like za, you know, like just easy marks. Not all this fancy, crazy stuff like what we see in, like, you know, calligraphy and what's the other one? Cursive, things like that. So these are very rough shapes. Only very rarely do you see curves in them, you know? So again, we got the cattle, we got your tent. So again, means cattle, it's pronounced Allah. Ba means tent, it's pronounced Bayat. Ga means camel, and it's pronounced Gamal. That's actually withstood the test of time pretty well when you think about it. Camel and Gamal, because there's no C. Right? You have Ka, but Ga. Somebody must have, like, maybe perhaps it was written in a certain way. Yeah. But yeah, that's what Gamal, the camel is, or the horse in over here. Right? I think there were horses over there too, but the camel was better for the desert. Door, which is Da, is pronounced Dalah. Right? So how would you say if one of the younger brothers busts in here right now and you would need to close the door? Dalah. And then what?
Oh, you ever say something?
Shema. I don't know if it's Shemai. No, because Shemai means listen. And the Shemai doesn't mean close your mouth. It means actually listen. So we would have to find the word for close, and then we would find the word Dalah for door. Close the door, right? All right, reveal. Hook is what, it's like reveal, which is ha, is pronounced ha. Hook, it's like wa, represents the hook, and it's pronounced wa. Za represents the weapon, and it's pronounced zayan. Kha means wall, and it's pronounced ka'af. Now we have more vocabulary. I want to try to get through the whole alphabet. If y'all want to get through that, we could go through that all today. I want to make sure y'all get everything. 'Cause as we show more of it, you'll be like, oh, so that's what this been this whole time. I didn't know that, but that makes sense. Right. You're gonna see a lot of that. Top. This is interesting. Ta means clay.
I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
So how's that gonna work? Are we gonna have to do like a big transition? Because like you know how when someone comes from like learning Spanish to English,
Yeah.
they're always around the English. So that's how they end up learning it fast.
Yeah.
Is that what's gonna have to happen? Like people are gonna have to start speaking only like Hebrew so that we can start learning it fast.
That is, yeah. And it is because of things like these hieroglyphs that give us a good starting point. You know what I'm saying? It gives us a good starting point because it's visually simplistic. Just like how when you're a kid, we had different forms of media, but they gave us flashcards. Nowadays, the kids have a tablet, right? Tablet just overwhelms them with information, and some of them get really, really smart, and then other ones just get addicted to the screen. But when we were younger, we had flashcards that would show the character A, and then it'll have a picture of something that started with an A, right? And it was like A apple or A, whatever, right? And so now what we're doing is we're basically going back to the milk of it all, right? And we're just literally showing you that's what this means. Like this is the most obvious one. This is the cow head. Cow can be cows, lambs, chickens, and they all have a head like that. You know what I'm saying? They have long faces. Chickens have the beak, so it looks like that. But this is more or less what it would look like. Now, top means clay, and it is actually pronounced just like that. Top, top, not ta ta, but top. That means clay. Why is that important? This is very important because this is what is used on a seal. Because clay is a material. I forget exactly what clay is, like mud and like stuff put together. Clay can be used to create a house. Clay is used to make brick. Clay was used on stamps, like letter, where a king would have his ring and he would stamp it into the clay. So this is supposed to represent that piece of clay with some kind of symbol added to it that would be a mark that may represent somebody's name. This one just had a cross through the middle because it was a more generalized term. It wasn't anybody's specific insignia. It was just a generalized term that meant clay. All right. A lot of times clay would be used for other things too. What are some of the things that clay was used for in the ancient world?
On the ancient world?
Mm-hmm. Think about it. Think about the shape. Everybody used it yesterday when it was in the feast day. What?
I was gonna say cups.
Close. Go ahead.
To seal things.
No, it's a plate. We use clay for plates. These were the ancient form of plates. Nowadays, plates are made out of like whatever they're made of, with like rubber, plastic. It's just some kind of hardened mush, right?
Right. I know.
The clay is just a hardened mush. So clay would be used like you know what I'm saying. You would put you would have this hardened material. It would be used to put immediate things on. Clay would also be used as a workstation for tools and things like that. Go ahead.
Yeah. I know what you're talking about because in Mexico they still do that.
Yeah.
They have they make clay pots.
Okay.
They
Yeah.
put designs around it, but you can put a fire to it and cook in it,
Mm-hmm.
and it doesn't melt or nothing. It's like
That's heavy because
they still do that.
that's how you know our people are Israel because we stick with what we know works. You know what I'm saying? It ain't got to be too complicated. And this right here can represent a few things. But the first thing that come to mind just visually looking at it is a plate or a stamp because clay would be used in its more mushier form so that it can be engraved in. whenever somebody would place it on an envelope of a letter or some kind of a letter fold to not only seal the actual letter closed so it can only be opened by the person it's authorized to. There would be, like, say you have the letter, right? Right? First, the letter would be opened up, and then it would have whatever's written on it, right? And then you would fold it shut. And then when the letter is folded shut, it may be folded where it's like halfway, like it'll be folded in like this, or it'll be folded completely down, and then that clay seals it. It's almost like saying this is off limits, just like that. Yeah, you know what? Let me show that on the picture. All right, see that?
Actually,
That right there is a clay. That's a clay plate. And in this case, the letter would be sealed with a piece of clay that would join the actual ends of the paper together so they could only be broken once. Or you would compromise the clay. You know what I'm saying? So it would have the symbol of whoever. It's almost like saying don't, like, you see a stop sign like at a railroad track. I think it has an X on it. So it's trying to say, don't go past this, but this isn't in a personalized way because we're talking about a letter. You can't open this unless you're somebody that's supposed to receive some kind of letter from this person whose signet is on this piece of clay. Go ahead, copy.
someone says plates are originally made out of porcelain, earthenware.
Yeah, earthenware. That's what clay is. Yeah, porcelain, earthenware. That's like mud. You know what I'm saying? Hardened mud. I mean, think about it. What is brick? What is concrete? It's just a more proven form of earthen, material. You know what I'm saying? Look at the ingredients of what concrete is, and you'll realize that it's like liquefied rock that is being repurposed and reshaped and then rehardened back into what it originally was. It's like, yeah, it's like rock dust that's then gathered and then mixed into some kind of liquid form to make it hardened, right? So that's really what that is. Now, here's a good one. This is a really good one. Yah. What do you think Yah means? I don't know if you can guess.
Yah, by looking at the symbol,
Yeah.
Yah.
It's easier than you think because we say it in every class.
We say it every class.
Mm-hmm.
We say it in the class.
Yep. I'll give you 20 seconds. Let me take a sip. Try it. Think about it though. Think about it.
I'm looking at the symbol though.
Yeah, no, look at the symbol. That's what I'm saying. Look at the symbol.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
The symbol has to do with it.
Mm-hmm.
Said
Looks like a arm.
Okay. Part of it. It's attached to the.
Oh, hand.
It is your hand.
Yeah.
Yes.
We do say it every day. I remember hand.
Because the word. Hold on, I should explain it. Yad.
Yeah, it is hand.
Like, Barack Yad, what does his name mean? Blessed hands, right? It's Yah, it's Da. Oh, these are trying to do. Yeah. I don't want to do the shape, but it's like this. It's like your elbow and then your hand that can grip shit. It's literally, I'm not trying to do no kind of fruity shit, but it's like this. You feel me? That's when we say Yaya Matar, what are we saying? Hands down. Mm-hmm.
I see it. All right.
Yaya Matar. That's the hand. Well, it's the arm and the hand, but it's more the hand. You know what I'm saying? This is commonly known because this could represent the hand of a human. It could represent the arms of an animal. You know what I'm saying? It's crazy though when you think about it because all the creatures on Earth that have hands have some form of this.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it's almost universal. You know what I'm saying? It's universal. And that's what it means. Yad.
I got it.
Now you know when you're saying Yad Matah, you know you're saying hands down because the word Yad or Yad is in it. Right?
How do you say hands?
Yad, yeah, the Kwam would be rise. It'd be like Kwam Yad or something like that.
Yeah, so yad, kom yad, kom yad.
Yad,
Kom yad.
it might be either be Yad Kwam or Kwam Yad or something like that.
Kom yad.
I think either one may actually pass up because you just say rise hands. You know what I'm saying?
Kom yad.
Kwam Yad would mean raise your hands. Right? The next character. We went from what Yah. I was going to. Oh, I believe I broke that like that earlier.
How do you say come here in Hebrew?
We'll get that. We can answer some of those.
I don't see if you say like that to a dog in Hebrew if he actually listens.
Well, he ain't heard Hebrew in a million lives ago, so I don't know if that. Cop. Oh, this is heavy. Cop means, and this kind of it goes right with this one. So cop means palm. Palm, because the palm of your hand has a lot of fingers coming out, right? Technically, the thumb is not included in this image, but it is your palm. It's a cup. It's a cup, yeah, palm. You know what I'm saying? The palm of your hand, right? But the word palm actually sounds like this. Cup. Yeah. Cup.
Cop? Like copy? No, that was like cop on hand.
Kind of.
Cop.
Palm and cup.
Sorry,
Go ahead.
I meant to ask you about since I mentioned cop right now.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to ask you about because we're not too far enough in the alphabet. But I wanted to ask you about da.
Which means it.
Because that no, I know it means the beloved one, right? But here it means door.
So,
Can you explain that?
yeah, definitely. All right. What does the door do?
Door opens and shuts.
But when you need it to stay shut, what does it do?
When you need it to stay shut.
Yeah. The door was made. If there wasn't no, like, obviously the door would represent an entrance, right?
Yeah.
But if the door is there, it's to protect the people in it.
Yeah. To
Okay.
keep people out.
And that's exactly what a shield is. A shield is a mobile door because it literally protects you that's carrying it. So when you look at Dawada, it looks like this. So what you're doing is it's like you're joining. What does a hook and a peg do? It joins stuff together, right? So you're joining them together, and that's why the shield is basically a strong door, basically.
So you're joining two doors.
Not literal doors, but materials that are used to protect. Yeah. So the idea of what a shield is like you have the weapon and then you have the door, right?
Yeah.
Like think of a castle, right? A castle. What would be,
And that will be the yeah.
you know,
I just know
the gates. Yeah. So that's heavy because a gate is a protection, right? That's put around the whole apartment complex.
Yeah.
But when you said gate just now, you represented it as an opening, right? You didn't even think about it as a wall. You thought of gate as like the gate, like when we go to your apartment complex, there's the gate that is never closed because it's always broken. So it's a messed up down dot. It's like it's not doing its job, or whoever's supposed to fix it's not fixing it. So it's just that simple. But at the same time, like I said, the shield of David is a clever way of saying his initials. If you were to come up with, let's take your name. Well, actually, no, it wouldn't be that. It would be Taziar. How would you get ambassador out of that? You know what I'm saying? There's a lot going on, but the only piece that we have right now, based on what we've gone through, is just the hand, right? But we know that the hand is also, and when you look at the ancient Hebrew, the hands are also meant for authority too. So when we get more of these characters, maybe perhaps we'll put together what your name means even visually. You know what I'm saying? Kapayar would be Ka, it would be Pa, and Ra.
Um,
Yeah.
I don't know that.
No, it's young honor. What you mean? Young honor.
You're gonna be blown away once I get to it because you're gonna be like, "What the heck? This actually this visually makes sense." Also,
What do you mean?
all right.
Oh, about my name?
Yep. Yeah, both ears. Actually, let me see. Yeah, that's perfect. Okay, so now I'm gonna go further. Now you're gonna want to get to these other ones. So we had. Let me actually just write the characters that we ever filled in these years ago. Ka, ba, ma, na, sa, pa, taza, qua, ra. Oh, okay. Oh, I'm getting that.
Yeah.
Let's get through these. So la is the next one. La means staff.
Staff,
Mhm.
like a stick.
Yeah, like stick. Right. And the pronunciation of the word in Hebrew is lamad. Just because I did an interview. I keep getting these mixed up. I did an interview with, I think his name was Officer Lamagna.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. At the cookout?
Yeah,
Oh, you couldn't.
Lamagna.
He's a captain.
But he has a yah at the end, which means my staff. What his name is. What is the staff? The staff is like you might be thinking of the wrong. I didn't realize we have to cut the words black and then blue over here. Whatever. I'm just gonna do everything. Whatever. Lamad, palm. Oh, la. It don't matter. Let's just get through it. So Lamad looks like this. La, ma, and da. Lamad. Now we know what a staff is. Staff is usually given to somebody that is a leader, right? Somebody that is kind of like, typically, like nowadays, you think of a staff, it would have a flag on it, right? But it could also be a weapon, right? If somebody's in leadership, they're just so carrying something that lets everybody know they're the leader, but they can whack you with it too. They had to. You know what I'm saying? It's not built. It's not necessarily built for that purpose, but a lot of times staff would have blades on it, too. That's where you get a spear from, or a scythe, a double-edged scythe, and things like that. So staff again is representative of leadership, and hell, even Moses led Israel out of Egypt with the staff, part of the Red Sea with the staff. You know what I'm saying? So it's almost like saying, "I'm the leader, follow me." When you have something like that, and so this may be a glyph that would indicate somebody that is of high importance. Like imagine if your tent by Yas would have a staff or the law character on it, or it could just be your name. There's a very good chance that it may actually be their name, Lamont in that case. All right. This one's a really good one. Another really important Hebrew character is La. At this point, I'm just gonna mix up everything because that way you could just separate everything I need to. Ma means, I'm just gonna give this one to you, means water. And the pronunciation of water is Mayam. Mm-hmm. That is a part of Captain Mashak's name. His name is Mashak Mayam. Mashak would be, this is a good word. Mashak is in the Old Testament is Meshach. Mashak. Yeah, they messed up. They put Maya Shak. Means guest of the king. Oh, that's heavy, man. So it says the guest of the king, but his name is Mashak Mayam. What does that tell you? He's from the Caribbean. He's from an area that is known to be surrounded by water. He's a guest of the king. Captain Mashak Mayam. Mashak means guest of the king. You understand? Comes from the word, let me see. Yeah, it's the same thing. The godly friend of Daniel, who Nebuchadnezzar renamed Mashak, one of three friends who with Daniel refused to make themselves unclean by eating food from the king's table. Again, so it's almost like saying water guest or somebody of high importance who's next to the highest person in importance. You know what I'm saying? So Mashak Mayam literally is talking about being a guest here who comes from a place surrounded by water. You know what I'm saying? And that Mayam actually means water. This is what you gather just from understanding the Hebrew. But when you think of water, what does water look like? If you were to draw water, you would do it like that, right? Waves. That's what the Ma represents. It represents waves. It's interesting because it's different from Shah because Shah remains sharp the whole time. Ma actually has these sharp points and then curves in, and it just looks like this. So Ma, yeah, my Next on the list is Na. Na means seed. This is gonna drive me crazy. Trying to make seed. This is very important too. Oh, excuse me. Gotta check me when I messed up.
Huh?
Ma. No.
Oh, my. See?
It's like it's a.
Mm-hmm.
Am I tripping or is this like emojis?
That's what emojis were. No, this is not like emojis. Emojis are like this. Yeah, because this whole look at the name of the class. It's like ancient glyphs. Ancient glyphs,
Right?
yeah, glyphs means pictures.
Pictures
Mhm.
that relay a message. Or I don't know, because I don't know about all that stuff. But
Ancient emojis. That's crazy. I mean, but you have the right idea because it's supposed to help you understand. Like if you could use emojis to talk to people from the other side of the globe that you don't understand. Like emojis kind of like allow you to kind of understand where your mood is at, whatever's going on. Nowadays emojis got all kinds of stuff. You got tents on emojis. You got cars and all types of emojis. They just paint a picture that gives you an understanding of what's going on. Right? So this is doing the same thing. See, now you got to understand why it's not hard to explain why these are next to each other. You can't grow a seed without water. Okay? And not only that, the seed goes into the ground and has roots to come from it. Just look at it. Think about it.
That's it.
You see what I'm saying? That's what seed is. Sa means support. I keep having to switch these around. Support. This one's interesting because it reminds me of well, first of all, the letter S, right? Think of the letter S. The letter S. Okay, hell, even the money sign is what you use for support. It supports your life. And if you just, you know what I'm saying? It almost kind of looks like the money sign, but it means support, not child support. Don't mess with none of that. You better believe we ain't worried about none of that around here. All right? Lord be with you if you want. So, it's pronounced, support is pronounced samak. Samak. Damn. Oh. Trying to write these characters small is difficult. Samak. Which means support. Now, there's a scripture that says, was it a threefold cord can't easily be broken? And that's what this reminds me of. This reminds me of when have you ever seen Planet of the Apes? The newer ones? When the monkey was like, he had the one stick and he went like this and he broke it. And then the other monkeys was like, and then he put them three sticks together. And then he was like, and he couldn't break it. That's what that shit is. Support. You know what I'm saying? Support, which means multiple pronged, you know what I'm saying? Reinforcements, things like that. Or support, think about when you're talking about building and construction, you're not just nail one thing to one beam. You're going to use all types of things to make sure it has all the support that it needs. So even that, I can understand why they made it look like that. Because again, they have to find a way to make everything look like its own thing. So that's what support means. Now we got this is the easiest one.
I.
Mm-hmm.
That's exactly what it means.
Yeah. That has withstood the test of time because we call these eyes even today, even in English. You know what I'm saying? But the eye represents actual eye, seeing, looking. That's why when you look at anything that has to do with vision, it's circular. A camera on your phone has a lens that looks like this. The binoculars you use to look far away, circular, right? Hell, to look at the stars, that, what do they call it? Telescope? It is shaped like an eye when you look at it from the front, like that, right? Or a sight on a weapon, a modern weapon, is going to have some kind of picture like that, right? So the eye is pronounced ayan. 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 Okay. Ayan. Let me write that like this. Ah or I. Yeah. No. I am. Damn, this is getting real lopsided. It's all good. I'll try to correct it. This one right here. This one's real simple. Pa means mouth. All right, when you think of everybody knows what this is. What's that?
That's the emoji that someone.
Yeah, but what video character is that?
Pac-Man.
Pac-Man. Pac-Man. Because literally all he is a mouth. So this is a mouth right here.
I see it. That's mouth. Like this.
It's a mouth. Yeah, it's a mouth. Pa means mouth. And the funny thing about it is literally just pa, like P, A, and then H. And then it would just be pa. But again, by itself, it's very simple. That's what that means. You know what I mean? Because you would have your cattle, and then you'd have your mouth, because you're asking them for food. You know what I'm saying? This cattle's for food. So you'd be able to understand that if you knew the basic, but just that alphabet. We're not even talking about all the vocabulary words themselves, but the pictorial capabilities of the original characters. Tazah is another, of course, another heavy one that's very important, right? Tazah. That's what your name uses. This is this means side. That's crazy, yo.
Side?
Side, yeah. It's crazy because when you look at it, the action that's going on this emoji or whatever, this hieroglyph is on the side. Okay.
Side. The one that looks like a Z backwards.
Yeah,
Not supposed to be connected.
it is supposed to be connected.
It is.
It is because again, think about this. There's a lot of things that this can mean. I'm going to give you a couple of examples, but I'm going to give you what the full word is. Side is tazad. Tazad. And it looks like this. I'm sure. Tazad. Tazad is one character, and then Da is the other character. So it's just Tazad. All right, so side. Think about this for a second. When you're naming, now you start putting together your name. Naturally, I'll do that at the end. But think about these things real quick. We know what this is, but this is a part of this. This comes from this.
Yeah.
It's almost like saying that like how when somebody has their hand on their hip,
yeah,
or their hand on their sheath.
Mm-hmm.
An ambassador is somebody that is at the right hand side of the king, or somebody that represents somebody that is the highest level of rulership. Because the ambassadors aren't the actual ruler themselves. The ambassador is somebody that represents that ruler. Okay? In warfare, the ambassador of a weaponsman, somebody that was a soldier or somebody that was an archer, they would have what's called an armor bearer or a sword bearer who would carry the weapons for the one that was the master of the craft. He's like, give me my javelin. He would reach into his things and give him the javelin. He say, give me my bow, and then he would give him the long bow, and he just has it ready. This is no different from when we're at camp and you're reading for the person that's speaking, and they say, let me get this scripture. And then you're like, and you go exactly where the scripture is, because spiritually you do the same exact thing. That what somebody on the battlefield that was on the side would do. Because pictorially, this represents like somebody standing up. Just like how an ambassador would be somebody that would stand up in representation of. I'm not trying to get all deep about it. You have to just understand that visually that's what it is. Because it's a conglomeration of a staff and a weapon. That's what this actually is. But instead of having this right here, it has the za right there. But again, it means side. But you have to look. You have to kind of put together the whole name and everything. And I'm gonna do that for both of y'all because again, it's kind of like a story. Like your name in Hebrew isn't just the name; it puts together the whole thing in like a really quick, brief sentence, almost. Go ahead.
Should you do that for love and yacht too?
For what?
Love and yacht.
We're doing that later. Yeah, we're doing that later. Let me get through these because class is probably time. We'll figure this out. So, oddly enough, qua means circle. You would think there would be ta or there would be I, right? But one thing that we know about qua is that we're used to seeing it like that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Circle. In the ancient Hebrew, it is pronounced qua. Qua. And that looks like this. Qua. Yeah.
Qua.
Circle. So that could be, I mean, think of anything that we would use that for. Like when we circle up at the end of camp, we'll be using symbols like that. All right. Like I said, it's a symbol. It had to be different from the other ones. But this is very similar to what you would see anywhere where there would be a circle. It's close enough, right? It's a hemicycle. Or we call it a semicircle with a line through the middle. Now we have Ra.
What's the other one?
Mm-hmm.
The circle, is it like it's supposed to be like protection? Because it looks like an umbrella.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
Something, I don't know.
Like when we circle up, that's what we're doing, right?
I mean, now you're being real spiritual now. That's good.
My bad.
But no, it's not bad. I'm saying it because you're looking at it from a bird's eye view, right?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So, and like I said, it just had to be different from everything else. Because, I mean, the alphabet is in the order that it is for a reason.
Mm.
So these things over here are more of a priority. I'm not going to say these aren't prioritized. I'm just saying that they were made first, and then these were made. You know what I'm saying? Check this out. Ra means head.
Wait, what? Oh, I thought the other. Oh.
Mm-hmm.
I thought head. Yeah, man, I thought
Means
the
head.
other was
Like your physical head?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or meaning, yeah. 'Cause look, that's a person with a weapon. This is a person. I mean, this is the top of the person. This is the.
Are you facing sideways?
Yeah, like you know,
I see it.
like if you go like this.
No. I see it.
I see.
That means head. Because if you were to actually draw a thorough, detailed, crazy picture of somebody, it would look like, you know what I'm saying? And then,
Right.
you know what I'm saying? But this isn't doing all that extra, man. It's just doing, you know, the stick figure version.
Stick figures.
You know? And that's how we be here and to be able to put it all together. You would put the head and you put the mouth on it and the eyes, right?
Yeah.
So if you were to use only ancient Hebrew to draw somebody, you'd be like, and then you would have the pop right there, and then you have the eyes, and then you would have the teeth, because that's what Shaw is. Shaw's tooth. Yeah. Well, we won't get that next.
That's crazy.
I understand. I'm getting it.
That's crazy. I see how they do this.
Yeah. You gotta step
It's
into it.
kind of barbaric.
It is. That's why it sounds like this. There's no vowels other than I, and I would be considered vowel sounds. But all of it is just, they try to make a language that you could say as loud as possible. That's like, ain't no booze over here, man. But the word for head is ra'ash. 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 I'll do y'all name here, but and then kind of maybe I have to do that once we end the stream.
What? No, wait, can you do, so if you do that, before you do that, can you do Labanya?
Is that the name you're trying to come up with? Oh, that's Rib's name, isn't it? I'm not Rib. I mean, your spouse person.
Yeah.
I have to look that name up. You said La. You said what?
Labanya.
Like La
Ba. Yeah.
La Baya.
Wait, hold on. Let me see. Yeah, Labanya.
That's easy.
Labanya.
Yeah. This is, I am your rest. La ba, and then ya is the possessive adjective. Mine. It's like saying my rest, because the tent means rest, resting place, and then staff means like first or leader. Like it would be like say for instance, she'd be your first rib, right? She'd be the, like how Moses held the staff because he was the leader. I'm not saying you're gonna have multiple wives. I'm saying that she would be the one that would be like the authority of making sure that you're resting. Because again, the actual name is Labah, but Yah is added to it so that it's like saying it's becoming a possessive name after that, because you're adding Yah to the end of it.
Oh, shoot.
So Ra'ash means head. All right.
Yeah, I see that now.
Ra'ash means head. It literally looks like you know? All right. Now we got Shah. And we already kind of gave you a preview of what that is, and that means tooth. That I don't have to explain, you know. That's come on now. That very basic. Remember when I did the Revelation 9 breakdown where it talked about the teeth of lions on the locusts? And what did they do to the planes? They drew teeth on the plane to make it look more menacing, like it was an actual creature.
It looks like
And it brought it to life. It made it, and you know what I'm saying? Because with the engines and everything, it sounded like a fierce animal getting ready to strike. And then they added the teeth on it, what was called shark mouth nose art. Shark mouth, yeah, they call it shark mouth. Not like shark mouth at camp. I'm talking about shark mouth. Yeah, because it's shark mouth. Because it look like that, right? So, tooth is shine. Shine. So if you ever have to go to the dentist, say you're going to the shine with something. I mean, you want to see the shine, and then you got to find a word for pharmacist or physician or whatever.
Mhm.
I have to find that in the Hebrew. Like I said, we build the vocabulary. You know what I'm saying? Shine. So again, well, last one. Enough room on here to do the breakdowns of your names outside of class. I mean, I'd have to put it on the side here, but I probably want to just leave this here. The last one is thought. Now,
Can I guess that one, sir?
go ahead.
Looks like somebody resting, sleeping.
I mean, that's not. It's not close enough.
Sword.
Was it not?
Try again.
Sword.
I mean, that not sword. No, we already looked at thought.
Oh, yeah.
So it's Was I close?
There's no. I would say
it
no.
wasn't. All right, I haven't checked.
Does it look like what? Does it like say what it looks like?
I mean, it kind of doesn't.
Oh, does it?
Mm-mm. So I'm gonna give you the answer.
Yeah, that one's gonna be hard.
It means two things actually: sign
Sign.
and end.
And yeah, like you're right. Yeah, damn.
Sign and end. It's crazy. It's pronounced tha and then wa put together. So tha. But that again, that's the word for sign / end. Tha.
That's why I meant I don't want it when you wrestling. That's it.
I'm gonna show you that here in a second. So again, let's go through them. I'm gonna just repeat after me.
Okay.
Means cattle.
Okay.
It's pronounced a lot.
Allah.
Ba
Uh,
means tent.
Consent.
Means bayat.
Bayat.
Or pronounced bayat. Ga means camel.
Camel.
Pronounced gamal.
Kamal.
Da
Da.
means door.
Door.
It's pronounced dalat.
Allah.
Reveal is ha.
Ha.
So it means reveal.
Reveal.
It's pronounced ha.
Aha.
All right. Wa
Wow.
means hook or peg.
Hook or peg.
It's pronounced wa.
Wawa.
Za
Za.
means weapon.
His weapon.
And it's pronounced zayan.
Zayan.
Ka
Ka.
means wall.
Wall.
It's pronounced ka'as.
Pronounced Ka'al.
Yeah. Ta
Ta.
means clay.
His clay.
It's pronounced tat.
It's pronounced tat.
Mm-hmm. I see why I say tat. All right. Ya
Yeah.
means hand.
And
It's pronounced yad.
yeah.
Yeah. Ka
Ka.
means palm.
And
And that's pronounced ka.
ka.
Okay. La
La.
it means staff.
Staff.
And that's pronounced lamad.
Lamad.
Ma
Ma.
means water.
Water.
Pronounced mayam.
Mayam.
Na
Na.
means seed.
Seed.
It's pronounced nan.
Nan.
Sa
Sa.
represents support.
Support.
That's pronounced samak.
Samak.
Right. Damn, I'm gonna write it down. This one I just say like this. I
I.
means I,
I.
and that's pronounced ayan.
Ayan.
All right. Pa
Pa.
means mouth,
Mouth.
and that's pronounced pa.
Pa.
Taza
Taza.
means side.
Side.
It's pronounced tazad.
Taza.
Mm-hmm. Qua
Qua.
means circle,
Circle.
and it's pronounced qua.
Qua.
Ra
Ra.
means head,
Head.
and that's pronounced ra'ash.
Ra'ash.
Sha,
Sha.
it means tooth,
Tooth.
and that is pronounced shan.
Shan.
And then we have tha,
Ta.
which means sign or end,
Sign. Rin.
and that's pronounced tha.
Thou.
Mhm.
Thou.
So there's your Hebrew alphabet. But this is these are ancient hieroglyphics. So the ancient Paleo Hebrew is a pictorial language that can be written on the stones, can be written on the ground, and it could be given as a representation of some of the basic necessities of the survival of a civilization. So Isupk and the Commander General Yohana goes to the ancient Hebrew, which again is the language that we were given when we were Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. When we were the sons, the 12 sons of Jacob that came to Israel. This language right here is a language that is actually easier to understand than all of the slave languages we were forced to learn. And so as we start to get more vocabulary, now I want you to start looking at it in a different way because the actual characters themselves mean things too. Because when you put them together, it gives you a better understanding of the whole word that's being used. But also keep in mind, of course, we have rules to follow when it comes to some of the prepositions and possessive adjectives. But what I want you to focus on when we're going into vocabulary are the root words to these things. because this alphabet was made to cover a lot of bases at the same time. And also keep in mind that this language is designed so that one thing can mean multiple things.
Yeah.
So these characters are very versatile in what they can mean symbolically, what they can mean physically and visually, or literally, but they have different meanings too. And so that will give a better understanding as we continue to learn the language. This is a good foundation of understanding the basics as to why the language looks the way that it does, because we have to understand 5,000-6,000 years ago when people were predominantly learning and using this language, it was at a time where technology wasn't where it is now. But it set the tone for technology being what it is now because it all starts with communication. So with that, we're the Isupk. Started out at 1 West, 125th Street, Harlem, New York. We're under Commanding General Yohana. We're here to teach the truth of the Bible to so-called Black, Hispanic, and Native American people, all God's chosen people. And with that, shalom. Yahweh Shem Yahweh Barakatah. Yahweh Shem Al-Dan Ba'Shem Yahweh Shah. Shalom. So I was giving it some thought. Go ahead.